continue today. Then tomorrow, I think I cannot meet you on Friday face-to-face ta. Is it okay?
Yes, Doc.
Okay.
Yes, Doc.
Thursday night, can you update me, Dr. Rashid? If Dr. Habagat will not meet you, then I can meet you by 7:30 a.m., okay?
Ay, Doc, na may exam 7 to 9, Doc.
Sa Friday?
Yes, Doc.
Unsa man yung exam?
Compress IM, Doc.
Sa Friday nilag nihatag.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Is it okay, 10 o'clock?
Yes, pwede rin, Doc.
Sige, 10 o'clock ta face-to-face. Just tell me sa room, ha?
Yeah, ako yung message rin, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
Message ko sa room. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. Recap. We're done with the anatomy, correct? No? Is it correct? We're done with the anatomy?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. So what's important in the anatomy? Anterior view. Anterior view is what is the boundary landmark that will tell you if it is direct or indirect type of hernia. Can you tell me what's that important landmark? If medial to that, it's the Hasselbalch triangle, then it is direct type of hernia. And if it's lateral to that landmark, it's indirect type of hernia. What is that landmark? What is that structure? It's the inferior epigastric vessels. Okay? So, very important landmark. How about the Hasselbalch triangle? Hasselbalch triangle bounded by medially by the lateral border of the rectus abdominis, superolaterally by the inferior epigastric vessels, and inferior by the inguinal ligament. Okay. If the defect is in the Hasselbalch triangle, what type of hernia? It's direct type of hernia.
Direct type.
Okay. So this one in this slide, a 36-year-old male post-open tissue repair secondary to an incarcerated hernia came into your clinic due to decreased sensation at the dorsal aspect of the penis and medial aspect of the thigh. What structure best represents the possible injury? It's the ilioinguinal nerve, no? Is it? Ilioinguinal nerve. Okay. This one, ilioinguinal nerve. Okay. So let's proceed. Inguinal hernias or groin hernias. We'll talk about inguinal hernias because 90% of the hernia, abdominal wall hernia, is in the inguinal. Number one, direct type of hernia. It is medial to the inferior epigastric vessels. Indirect type of hernia, this is the most common in the male and in the female, okay? So this is the most common, indirect type of hernia. It is lateral to the inferior epigastric vessels. That is very important, okay? You have to remember that. And femoral hernia. Femoral hernia in the femoral canal, it is located below the inguinal ligament. So when you read there in Schwartz, femoral hernia is common in females, okay? But generally, what is common in females is indirect type of hernia, okay? So don't be confused, huh? Femoral hernia is common in female, but more common is the indirect type of hernia. So indirect type of hernia is most common in male and female. Okay? Do you get it? So this is a picture of an indirect type of hernia. The upper picture traverses the inguinal canal. So it is in the inguinal canal. So it has the same course as the spermatic cord. Okay? So in female, what is the counterpart of the spermatic cord? Do you have idea?
Round ligament.
Very good. It's the round ligament. Okay? So if it is the round ligament, it will also, in female, if it is indirect type of hernia, it will go same course with the round ligament. So comparing to the content of the round ligament and the spermatic cord, in the round ligament, you can only find blood supply, So there's no vas deferens, there's no uh, testicular vessels, so there's no what's not nerve, genital branch of the genitofemoral nerve. So technically much easier to repair in female than in male. Okay, so in the lower picture, it is the direct type of hernia. Okay, it bulges through a weakened fascia of the abdominal wall directly behind the superficial inguinal ring. So if it is behind the inguinal ring, it is medial to the inferior epigastric vessels, rarely enter the scrotum, and commonly in elderly men with weak abdominal muscles. No? So this is the difference between indirect type of hernia and direct type of hernia. So if you take a look at the picture, commonly that it will incarcerate is the indirect type of hernia because it has narrow defect, and it goes through the scrotum, whereas in the direct type of hernia, it has a wide base. Take a look at it, wide base. So it rarely incarcerate, okay, but it will also incarcerate. Okay, there's also type of some patients have both direct and indirect type of hernia. It's what we call the pantaloon hernia. So you have to think also that there's also patient that has both the indirect type of hernia and direct type of hernia. Okay, so we'll go now to pathophysiology. Okay, congenital and acquired. Congenital, it is seen in indirect type of hernia. Okay, acquired mostly in the direct type of hernia, but sometimes in childhood there is no hernia, but later on in life, 40 years old and above, due to weakened muscle or weakness in the covering of the internal inguinal ring, it will also occur later in life, the indirect type of hernia. Okay, so again, bimodal. First year of life, you'll commonly see the indirect type of hernia, and 40 years old and above, you can also again see indirect type of hernia. Okay, so congenital in pediatric age group, the processus vaginalis is an outpoaching of the peritoneum attached to the testicles that trail behind as it descends retroperitoneally into the scrotum. So from the womb, the testis begins to descend about 28 weeks gestation, and slowly going down, the outgrowth of the gubernaculum grows to the scrotal area. Then the testis passes through the inguinal canal, and before birth, the processus vaginalis normally fuse at 36 to 40 weeks of gestation, closing of the opening of the peritoneal cavity to the internal inguinal ring. So this one, as it descends before the baby is born, 36 to 40 weeks, normally the inguinal ring is closed. Okay? First one that will go down and close is the left. The last one that will descend and close is the right. So, failure of this closure will result into patent processus vaginalis. So remember that patent processus vaginalis, then a sac where abdominal content results in a herniation to the scrotal area. This now results into an indirect type of hernia. Okay, so that's why commonly it occurs in the right. No, indirect type of hernia occurs in the right because it's the last one that will close. So the first one that will close is the left, the last is the right. So mostly it's the right that is open. Okay, so that is now the reason why it is common in the right and in male. Okay, everybody, everyone get that pathophysiology. I have here a video. Can you see the video?
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc.
Can you see the video? Can you hear the
Yes.
comment?
Uh, wala
Walay audio?
Doc.
voice. Di ba sound?
Walay audio?
Walay audio, Doc.
So daw. Internet. So anyway, sige ako na lang. External, internal, going to the inguinal canal and into the scrotum. As it enters the scrotum, the abdominal wall also goes with it. Okay, so this one, the opening of the internal ring normally will close, and if it will open, there's still also a chance within 6 months that it will close. Some very small opening that only fluid will get inside, we call it hydrocele. If it's bigger, then it's now inguinal hernia. Okay, so this one we can reduce. So if we can push it back, that is what we call reducible hernia. So if it is trapped, it will compromise the blood supply. So that's why you can see here this coloration, then incarcerated, and if it's still blood supply is compromised, we can now see this as strangulated type of hernia. Okay, so in that video, descent of the testis from the abdomen enters to the internal ring, passes to the inguinal canal, then exit into the superficial inguinal ring, then to the scrotum. No? If very small, only fluid can enter, then it is hydrocele, communicating hydrocele. But if it's wide enough that the omentum or intestine can pass through, it is now called indirect type of hernia. No? So in the example in our case, di ba? There's a bulge at the right inguinal area when the patient is walking, no? So or increased intra-abdominal pressure, there's a bulge. But if the patient will lie down, the bulge will disappear. So it is a classic history of reducibility, no? There is reducibility of the hernia. So if you can see this, or if you can extract this history, it is high likely that it's an indirect type of hernia. Okay? So together with physical exam, 80 to 90% you'll get the diagnosis, no? In hernia, it is you can diagnose hernia by history and PE alone. Okay? So no question? So if it is acquired type of hernia, mostly in adults, there's weakness in the abdominal wall structure, and also in patients that has increased intra-abdominal pressure, like frequent coughing in patients with COPD or obesity, or in patient with constantly straining, or in pregnancy, no? Or in Valsalva maneuver. Smoking also can cause, is a factor that can cause hernia, and physical exertion, because so common denominator is increased intra-abdominal pressure. It is also common in men who has enlarged prostate, no? Because the patient will strain during urination, so that's why it will cause, it's also a risk factor for inguinal hernia. Okay? So most adult inguinal hernias are considered acquired defect in the abdominal wall. Okay? Congenital hernias, which make up the majority of pediatric hernias. So diagnosis, again, diagnosis mostly by history of a groin mass, also accompanied by pain, with history of reducibility, no? So you have to extract that. It will appear on exertion or walking, but it will disappear on lying down. So there is history of reducibility, and together with the thorough physical exam, this one very important, no? If you have a patient, you're highly considering hernia, so you can perform this digital examination of the inguinal canal, or the finger occlusion test. Okay? So finger occlusion test, of course, you have to explain to the patient that you have to perform this examination. If you are a male or female, you have to have an accompanying a clerk or a nurse or a physician. Okay? So first, patient standing, if you're thinking, or if the hernia is in the right, use your right hand, locate the superficial inguinal ring, then slightly insert your finger up to the internal inguinal ring. Then ask the patient to cough, and if the impulse is in the tip of your finger, so that means the defect is in the inguinal canal, so that means it is indirect type of hernia. Okay? But if the impulse during coughing is in the side of the finger, then it is direct type of hernia. Okay? Did you get it? So again, finger occlusion test. Insert your finger, locate the superficial inguinal ring, then go up to the deep inguinal ring, ask the patient to cough, and if the impulse is at the tip of the finger, then it is indirect type of hernia. If the impulse is at the side, then it is direct type of hernia. Okay, do you understand? So this one, no? But actually, this is too high, no? A little bit at the side of the base of the penis, you can locate the superficial inguinal ring, then go up to the deep inguinal ring. Okay? Actually, your finger is at the inguinal canal, no? So, do you need imaging? Actually, no need. History and PE alone, you can diagnose inguinal hernia. Okay? But in if you are not certain of the diagnosis, or more likely you are considering other problem, maybe like enlarged lymph node or a lipoma or other inguinal problem, like maybe there's trauma, maybe there is hematoma, okay, then you can consider imaging. Okay, one is ultrasound. Okay, so again, there is no need to request for further imaging if you already clinched the diagnosis through history and physical exam. You need only further imaging if you are still uncertain of the diagnosis. No, you're clinching on the differential diagnosis, like maybe if it's lipoma or enlarged lymph node. Okay, so one is ultrasound. Next, CT scan, computer tomography, or magnetic resonance imaging. No, so you might ask, Doc, which one is the best? No, actually, there's no gold standard there in the imaging, no, for hernia, because I have said it is history and PE. So, but if you're thinking of a cystic mass, then it's better to request ultrasound. If you're thinking of a mass in the solid mass or um, um, in the inguinal area, then it's better to request CT scan. But if you're thinking of a soft tissue tumor, then better MRI. Okay? So, treatment. Tiwason lang na itong treatment sa face-to-face? Okay ra?
Kaya daw,
Sige, stop lang sa ta from imaging na takutob. Is it okay? Friday we will meet. We will continue with treatment. Non-operative, there is also we can also observe, but in very selective patients, no? Mostly, if the diagnosis is clinched, you have to explain to the patient that hernia should be repaired. Why? We don't want strangulation or incarceration to happen. Why? If there is incarceration at the inguinal hernia, and if the incarcerated structure is a small intestine, then it's very high risk. Maybe later on it will strangulate. Then if it strangulated type of hernia, then resection should be done. So the field now is contaminated, very high risk to the patient. And if it's contaminated, it is a contraindication, but not absolute. It is a contraindication to put a mesh, no? Because it is contaminated field. And mesh is a foreign body. So very high risk of infection. So that's why we don't want incarceration or strangulation to happen. So when you already have the diagnosis of an inguinal hernia, we have to explain to the patient to have it repaired as soon as possible. Okay? So, yes, you can also give truss or hernia belt, but it is temporary. Okay? Still, you have to advise the patient to have it repaired. Prophylactic antibiotics. Okay. So, have you read antibiotic guidelines? In surgery, you can download it in the Philippine College of Surgeons. It's there. If it is a clean wound, so you have to remember, there is type of wounds, no? Have you read types of wound? Type 1, what is that? Clean wound. Type 2, class 1, class 2, I mean. Class 2 is clean contaminated type of wound.
Clean.
Okay, very good. Class
Contaminated.
Okay, class 3, contaminated. Class 4, dirty wound. Okay? So, with that class of wound, hernia, where does it belong? It belongs to clean wound.
Clean pa na lang.
Okay, very good. So, example of clean wound, hernia surgery, breast surgery, thyroid surgery. So, if it's a clean type of wound, what is the recommendation? Antibiotic recommendation? No need to give antibiotic because it's clean. No? So, this one here in the treatment, it's there prophylactic antibiotics, but actually it's question mark, no? No need to give antibiotic if it is a clean wound. Why? The risk of infection, how many percent? Only 1%.
1
No?
to 2.
What?
1 to 2%, Doc.
So very, very low. So that's why there's no need to give prophylactic antibiotic. Okay? Then, operative treatment. Okay? So we will continue with operative treatment on Friday. Okay? Face-to-face na Friday, ha? You message me, Dr. Rashid, ha? Or,
Yes, Doc.
Tol?
Yes, tol.
I-message ko Thursday night and i-update ko sa after sa inyo exam, ha? Okay?
Okay, tol.
Sige. So, okay, so we'll end at this point. Nawala na ako slide, no?
Wala na, Doc.
So, how are you? Okay ra mo during the typhoon?
Kailan, Doc?
Okay lang, ha? Sige. Padayon lang tani. Okay, so I cannot also open my one because I think muhinag samot akong net. So anyway, I'll meet you on Friday. Tentative time 10 a.m. correct?
Yes, Doc.
Sige. Okay. See you Friday. Keep safe, everyone. Thank you.
See you, Doc.
Thank you.
Salamat, tol.
Salamat. Amping mo tanan, ha? Bye-bye.
Salamat, tol.